You got kids?
Uh-huh.
How old is she?
She be 15 in August.
She be 15. You and your baby mother still together?
Nah.
Nah?
We ain't been together since just before my daughter turned 1.
Wow, like, damn. What happened?
Pretty much, it switched, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like, I thought I would have married my baby moms, but people don't understand a baby changed the dynamics of everything. Because y'all both fighting to love the kid as much as you could possibly, but now it becomes a thing where one feel more obligated than the other.
You know what I'm saying? Obligation, what you mean?
All right, like, now, when like, all right, let's say when the mother.
Now hold on. I'm gonna stop right there. What did you hear in that statement?
A lot of different things. Like right before we, I heard that recording before we started, right? And one of the things I've said is like, whenever someone starts to tell me a story, and they start with, "I'm gonna keep it 100." Professionally, I have to then take a step back and say, what this person about to tell me has some truth in it, but also their version of the truth, right? Because there's always three versions of any truth. There's his, hers, and the actual truth, right? And just because you premise something with saying, "I'm gonna keep it 100," it's not that I'm doubting a person. It's more of just like, I'm just gonna pay closer attention to what you're about to say.
And I want to hear the other side too.
Yeah, that's right. Because now what you're telling me is you're trying to go a little deeper and be a little honest with what your feelings are but the thing about it is that you keep it in 100 with me in after the fact. Why didn't you keep it 100 with your partner when you was going through it?
Do you think it's very easy to express how you really feel? Let's talk about men. Do you think it's easy for men to express how they really feel when they're going through something with their partner?
Depends. Do we have the ability? Yes. Because we're no different. But are we trained and taught how to? No. Right? So if you look at any random man in the street, including us.
That's a crazy truck. Like, why would that truck be making that much noise?
Well, it's the street too. The street is not.
The street is that truck is wilding.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I'm like, we're trying to be all in date with this shit. And that truck come through like, fuck out of here. Come on, let's go.
I'm done. Forgot my train of thought. We were talking about the trucks now.
The ability to communicate with your partner.
So, from a very early age, most boys are taught not to cry, not to show weakness, not to express emotions that make them not manly. It's this constant training from society to say, hey, listen, you need to man up. You need to come on, buck up. You need to be strong. You need to be this, that. And even if no one verbalizes it to you and say these things to you, every time you cry as a boy, every time you show weakness, someone kind of says to you, hey, stop crying. Hey, stop.
Yeah,
What's wrong with you?
Acting like a little girl.
And then eventually a boy starts to learn, like, I shouldn't cry. No one around me accepts me when I cry.
Right.
No one accepts me when I show anything other than anger.
Anger is more manly.
Well, it is.
To society's standards.
I'm careful with this one, because this is the reason why most men get targeted with anger management classes, right? Because the moment a man shows anger, it's dangerous. But the problem is that if that's the only emotion that we are allowed to express, and every time we do express it, it means danger, then men are dangerous.
Right.
Then men can't raise kids. Right. And then you get all these systematic issues that we have, that we see in society nowadays, within the birthing system, within the health system, within everywhere, in the incarceration system, where men are looked as dangerous.
Right.
And the issue is now, how do we now repair this? How do we now go, now that we understand what's happening, how do we go back in time, or now, how do we stop future generations from repeating this process?
Now, this is a fork in the road here, because I could challenge you on this, and when I say that, I mean, like, if you've done nothing but harbor these feelings, if you have no other outlet for these feelings, and the only way you know how to challenge that is to channel it through anger, that's dangerous.
Right.
That's dangerous. It's not only dangerous to other people, because I've been that, right? I've overreacted because I had all of this other stuff, and you just gave me an out. You just gave me a release, because I didn't really know how to release it no other way.
Right.
And I really didn't know how to communicate any other way. And every time I did, people told me, you're not adequate at it. You're not good at that. That isn't a good enough response.
Right.
So guess what's good enough? These two fists. Or my braggadocious, like I could stick up my chest. You know what I'm saying? Or I could curse you the fuck out.
Or the,
Use those
the
words.
fist in the wall, right? When most men will just punch a wall, hole in the wall,
And I
like,
did that from young.
I got it out.
I got it out. And you do feel relief. But what happens when that's what's happening over a course of time in a relationship? Especially once you're not feeling let's stop here. In that clip, homie was saying it starts to feel like obligation. How did you feel about that?
Because that's what it is. Most people have this facade that relationships are not an obligation. That a relationship, you don't have things that you must do for your partner. Like, I think it's whether it's whatever you want to blame it on, social media, hip hop culture, music culture, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, most people who get into relationships don't understand that being in a committed relationship with another individual means that you have responsibilities. This ain't all fun and games. Yeah, you having fun, you enjoying yourself, but it's like work. You can have a job that you hate, and every time you wake up, you're like, I gotta do this work. Yeah. Or you can have a job that you love. That sometimes you wake up, you're like, all right, I'm a little tired, but I'm gonna get through this. Let's go get it. I'm gonna get through this, right? Yeah. And whether or not it's a 9-to-5 working for an agency, or you're doing something like what you're doing, brother, and you're doing your own show, your own company, you have your own business. It could be a hot dog stand, or it could be a food truck. At the end of the day, if you love it enough, you'll wake up and you'll be like, I'm tired, but I'm gonna do it.
That's great.
I'm gonna do it. And ultimately, it's still a responsibility. You still have to make them tacos. You still have to buy the supplies. You still gotta do payroll. You still gotta do all that. And sometimes you may look at yourself in the mirror like, I'm tired. Yeah. This is a lot. But you do it because you love it. Yeah. Right? And a relationship is no different. Right? The reason why you treat her nice, the reason why you buy her nice things, the reason why you tolerate some of the craziness, is because at the end of the day, you look at her, you're like, yeah, I love her. I love her. I love her.
But what happens in the pregnancy, as he was saying, his admission was, it starts to feel more like obligation. There was a more there.
Well,
when the pregnancy happened.
That's the key word. Pregnancy.
Or the pregnancy.
The pregnancy.
But what
that's more. That's 1 + 1 plus, and then you leave it. You had the X because you don't know what's gonna happen. Oh shit! Right. Right. The pregnancy is the +1. Now it's 3. So it is more obligations. It is more responsibilities, and most people can't understand that. Right. They don't make that realization until 6 months later, and that's what happened to me. Like, I didn't feel like a father until 6 months after my child was born.
Why is that?
Because I didn't have a connection with my child.
Why is that?
Good question.
Well, I'm gonna tell you I'll give you my story. And I'm gonna go to the one where I was more responsible, because in one of my pregnancy, my daughter's pregnancy, I was just in the street, so I was kind of like a helping hand, and she knew that's what it was gonna be, and that's what it was. I was a helping hand, but she basically was doing this on her own. So that's that. But with my sons, I was in the house. I didn't want to have children, but I did realize, and the reason I didn't want to have children is because I knew I wasn't financially ready yet.
Right.
I knew like I had things that I wanted to get to. I had something to prove to myself that I hadn't proven. And now this X was added to the equation that was an unlimited black hole of responsibility. And now I'm really fucking stressed. And so me and my baby mother, we kind of disconnected at that point, even though we're living in the same house.
Right.
I couldn't get over the fact that she wanted to have the kids. And I couldn't get over the fact that I really was not ready for this. I wasn't able to enjoy it. It definitely felt more like obligation than any time before that. Before that, I still was trying to pay the bills, even though I had just come home from jail or whatever. I still was trying to pay the bills, but I was doing it because I love you and it's us against the world, so I'm gonna make it happen.
Right.
And now you've made this choice that I can't control. And when I say I can't control it, it means I don't even know, I can't even wrap my mind around how I'm gonna take care of you and this child.
Right.
I don't have it. I don't have the resources. That's what my concern is. Her concern is how to take care of her and her baby. And I think that's where the disconnect began.
The priority shifts.
The priority shifts. And there was kind of, I don't know if the responsibility shift. Is it a difference in the way you think men do pregnancy?
Not according to the law.
Well, in her mind, her responsibility is making sure that child is taken care of, as far as health, prenatal vitamins.
Yeah.
You know,
her body's on the line.
Around her body, the things that's going on with her body that's telling her things. What's the difference between that experience and the male experience?
So going back to my story, right? You know, when my wife got pregnant, I do what I do. Mm-hmm. I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now. Mm-hmm. So my son's only 2. Okay. So I'm knee deep in classes, parenting, resources. So my wife got pregnant and we was like, all right, let's do this. We was all on board, you know, and pregnancy starts 7 months, 8 months. I'm with it. Mm-hmm. I'm there every appointment, you know. Child is born. Again, I'm there. But it doesn't feel no connection. It's just, oh, that's just a baby. Mm. It wasn't until 6 months when my son first laughed at something I did that I finally felt that connection with the child. Now, one of the things that I teach is that this is my unique experience in how I form connections. You have to figure out what that's going to be for you and your child. It can just be you seeing the crown come out. It can be you smelling them. You don't know what's going to trigger your emotions to finally make a connection with that child. Mm-hmm. But the only way you do it if you spend time with them. It's the only way you're going to allow it. If you drown yourself in work, if you drown yourself away from the house, you're never going to really feel a connection with that child, right? But moms feel it, 3 weeks in? 3 weeks pregnant, 4 weeks pregnant, they feel a connection. They start getting nausea. They start getting all kinds of bodily indications that tell them, hey, something's happening. Mm-hmm. Then they feel a kick. Then they feel uppercuts, right? They feel heartburn because the child may have too much hair. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Right? They always feel that connection. So when the child is born, they know that child in and out more than anyone else in this world. Mm-hmm. So there is an uneven and unequal pressure on men to have just as much value and just as much investment in that child when they barely have a connection.
You know, a lot of this sounds situational.
It is.
And the reason I say that, Well, maybe not. I'm not sure, but I'm really not good at building connections with people. Period. I'm talking about grown adults, people that can express themselves. Right. People, women that have said, I love you. And I might not feel the same way, but I like you, or I don't really know how to return that energy, right? I've closed myself off from those feelings, from those emotions for most of my life. Because those things, you know, we always go back to 13 years old when that girl broke your heart and you said, all right, that's not going to happen anymore. And you form more bonds with people that don't give a fuck about you. The guys on the corner and shit like that, you know.
Low investment relationships.
There's low investment relationships. And it's cool. I cut you off tomorrow. You ain't got to do much. I'm good right here.
Right.
How much is you having a family before? Having mommy or daddy issues? How much does that transfer into you not being able to connect with your child?
It means everything. Like, part of one of the reasons why I do parenting classes specifically with fathers, and I do a few. I do a co-parenting class, and I also do a father exclusive class, which, even though we call it a father class, is not necessarily targeted to males. It's targeted for people who are support partners, who have dedicated themselves to say, hey, listen, I'm going to support a pregnant person throughout this pregnancy. I'm going to become a guardian. I'm going to become, you know, the second co-parent to this child, right? And part of that is because one of the things that we realize as we move forward in time, we can't undo the past. It's done. We need to prep the parents who are having kids now to let them understand that it's not enough for you to pay the bills. It's not enough for you just to feed them, to buy them a few toys. You have to understand that your involvement or lack of involvement will impact their trajectory and their emotions in the way they communicate, the way they interact with their world. And our upbringing is full of all of that interactions that we've had when we were growing up, right? With our parents, with our moms and dads. And let's say, like me, I didn't have a dad growing up. But one of the things that I've realized in doing my work and doing, and you know, 30 years plus years later, is that my dad had a profound influence on my upbringing. He was never there, but he had a profound influence. Because at every junction, I never wanted to be nothing like him.
That's crazy.
And I always had that in the back of my mind. In the back of my mind, I'm like, nope. Anytime a family member or uncle would be like, you look like him, I would do the direct opposite. I started growing my hair. I had the whole thing. My uncle came one time and was like, oh, you look just like your dad when he was a teenager. I cut it all off.
Cut it.
You know what I mean? Like, at any point, and that's a profound influence. So what I tell my dads is, whether you like it or not, you're going to have an influence, because the child is not just going to ignore the fact that you're their father. They're going to find you. They're going to look who you are, and they're going to find about you, because whether you wanted to or not. Now you have a choice. The choice is, do you tell them your side of the story, your version of what you want to tell them, or will you choose someone else to tell it for you? And that is ultimately what's going to make an adult. One thing I wanted to add to what you were saying earlier is, most people think of this word trauma as a word that only thing that happens in the past. Oh, I had trauma from when I was a kid, or when something happened to me when I was 13. No, you're getting trauma right now. Right now. When something happens right now, you could be 45. You're going to get trauma. And then for the rest of your life at 45 after that, you're going to live with that trauma. So if you have 3 divorces, if you have 3 bad breakups, if you have 1 bad relationship, it doesn't matter when it happened. If it happens to you and it affects you emotionally, that's trauma. And you're going to have to, and that's kind of similar to like an injury that you have that scabs over. If you don't treat it carefully and it starts to scar, it's going to leave an impression. And you're never going to be able to move past it, because it's always there. It's a reminder. And it's going to affect your relationships with future people. How do you address this?
No.
I say this all the time. Therapy.
Right.
You got to heal yourself.
Right.
You can't just ignore all of the pain that you go through life and expect it not to affect you. And most people, especially in Black and brown communities, they go through life with the struggle of pain and suffering and say, I'm gonna be all right. No, you're not. You need help.
You need help.
And it's okay to say, I need help. I need to figure this out. I'm in pain. I'm suffering. And maybe then you take the step in the right direction to start to heal some of those wounds that you have from either past relationships, what I would consider a crazy upbringing, right? Because it might be normal to you or someone else, but you tell someone else and it's like, how did you make it?
Right.
Right. One thing that I know is that any willing person has $1 million story. If you know how to frame it enough, if you know how to put it on pencil and paper, you can sell it to Netflix, and you can make yourself $1 million.
Yeah.
Because and the work that you do, I'm sure you've interviewed a lot of people that will tell you stories. It's like,
yeah, it's nuts. It's crazy.
Why are you not rich?
Yeah.
That's like a novel series. You could break it up into chapters.
I really could.
You know what I mean? Like, it's real.
I really
but
could.
it is what it is.
I gotta ask you this. You mentioned black and brown people. Are there more baby daddies in black and brown communities than white? Is this a thing where it's really more about low income or cultural?
Well, baby daddy is that term comes from.
Well, when I went out to have these interviews, right, with men about what happened with them and the mother of their child, I kind of was like, I don't want to ask white guys because I don't want them. I know they're gonna be like, yeah, I'm still with her, and I know that's a perception in my head. But I was like, I bet you if I ask this black guy, he's probably more prone to say, nah, it didn't work. Is that perception or is it reality?
It's both. I mean, are stereotypes separate from truth?
They are created by truth. Right?
They're created by truth, right? So when we see any kind of stereotype, they are derived from some sort of truth within where they're coming from. The reason why we don't like using stereotype is because it generalizes the entire community. And it doesn't mean that the entire community has that stereotype. So when you look at black and brown people and say, is everyone part of and have a baby father? That's a stereotype. And no. But the term baby father only comes from black and brown communities and impoverished communities. When you look at high class communities, do they don't use that term? Right. They use the father of my child. They don't use baby father.
Baby father's negative connotation?
No, it's just it's an economical term. Like it's beneath them to use that kind of vernacular to address the child. First of all, if you are making $500,000 a year and you're paying for everything for that child, and that woman turns around and says, "Oh, you're my baby daddy." In high class societies,
wow, it's disrespectful.
It's disrespectful.
Don't talk to me like that. You're the mother of my son.
That whether it's
hold
just
myself socially to a higher standard.
Exactly. We talking about people like Trump, people like Jeff Bezos. I control multi-billion-dollar companies. Don't just turn around and address me in a way that might affect my image. But we don't worry about those things in black and brown communities and impoverished communities because does anyone have an image? Right. Does anyone have net worth that they might lose?
Do we glorify it though? Is it like one of those things like where we I think in the community, we do. That thing is like, yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. You run a fatherhood program. Right. What do you do? First of all, I'm sitting here. I haven't even introduced you.
I know we're like 30 minutes in.
I usually do this, but I'm sitting here with Emmanuel Perez. I went to Zakiya Wood's Dads Get Sad seminar last week, and I was inspired by the entire panel, the people that we have on our show today, and you were one who basically speak to men about what?
So there's multiple things, but if I had to sum it all, is do everything in your power to be in your child's life.
Mm-hmm.
And often people, when they hear that, it's like, oh yeah, that's a no-brainer. It's impossible nowadays, with the climate being what it is. And when I mean climate, I don't mean temperature. I mean the social service system. You gotta fight through just waves and waves and waves of impossible brick walls, just so you can get an hour a month with your child.
Right.
And how do you keep a person motivated to go through just these waves and waves just to get an hour? My hope is that I can give you some of that encouragement, because that hour that you're going to give that child, if that's all you get versus, custody or cohabitation or, whatever, the judge allows you to have, or in the other case, the mom, because it's not always a judge, that is going to be invaluable to not just you as a father, but to that child.
An hour?
An hour. It's what it takes.
That's rough, bro.
It is
That's
rough.
a rough pill to
but
swallow.
it's better than none.
Is it?
It's better than none.
All of that fighting, and I got you controlling the amount of time. Like, first of all of this money is coming out my check. And you're siphoning off 60 minutes of visitation to me. I could see a lot of people saying, bro.
Oh yeah, all my guys do it. Yeah.
Once they get older, like once I don't got to deal with her no more.
Yeah, but guess what? You wait 18 years till that child gets older. That's 18 years that they ain't gonna forgive you for it.
Right.
See, we always assume that, I'm the father, so after 18 years they're gonna accept me. Of course they will. No, they got 18 years to grow resentment for you. They got 18 years of influence to not be like you, like in my case. You think that after 18 years you can just come in, hey, what's up? You gotta respect me. I'm your dad.
Right.
No.
Right.
Mom, ask my dad. I'm 35. He doesn't even dare call me. Right? Not because I don't like him, not because I hate him, but because there is a dynamic of influence that you did not choose to have. An hour is better than none. 3 hours a weekend is better than 1 hour. Right? So the more hours and the more time that you dedicate, the better it is. But we have to start somewhere. If we want to break that cycle of what we see in our communities, if we want to break this ongoing issue of within our Black and brown communities, we have to start somewhere.
How about we start before it gets to that point?
I'm listening.
Are there things that men can do? Now, I sent you the video that I did on Instagram. I didn't think I sent you the whole thing. But the reason I sent that is because I kept wondering, why do people break up during pregnancy or that first year or two after the baby's born? Like, is this a thing that we can change? Are there courses that people can take, counseling that people can get? Why is it that people always break up during one of what should be the best moments of their life?
It's a sad thing. It is a sad thing.
And it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people. Like, I think the statistics were 67% of relationships feel a drop in happiness during pregnancy or drop in progress, forward move progress during relationships. They don't all break up during pregnancy. They don't all break up, but it's like really one of the worst things that happen to relationships.
Yeah.
What is that? And is there anything that we can do to change that?
So the 66%. So part of that 66 is actually quite normal. Because pregnancy is going to put a pressure on your relationship that will either test it or break it. And whether or not your relationship is solid enough is whether or not you'll be able to weather that storm. And this goes through every stage of any person's relationship, right? Meeting the parents, right? Most men kind of dread that situation. Asking for dad's hand in marriage for the wife's hand in marriage. These things are there to either make your relationship or break it. Because if you're not up to par, you're not going to be able to sustain that kind of pressure. To answer your question, though, the problem that I see is that it has to start from parents. There is no substitute for mom and dad to sit there and talk to you about the expectations of relationships.
Your parents, my parents, as an expecting, like my mother and father, come talk to me about what I'm about to go through. Yeah.
There's no replacement. You can sit in my class all you want. It don't mean you gotta listen to me. But you're more likely this is your mom and dad. Especially when they tell you what they've been through, all the divorces they've been through, all the relationships that they've been through. You might listen. Even though we may hate our moms and dads, sometimes we like, oh man, I gotta get up the house. I gotta get my own. When we're about to start our own family, that's when we start calling them. Like, yo, I don't know what's going on. She told them all kinds of, craziness. That's when you need to pay attention. No one's gonna replace that. But it doesn't start when you're 30. It starts when you are a teenager. It starts when you are a adolescent. It starts when you are 6 years old and you seeing the way your parents interact with each other. Right? And okay, let's say in my situation that you're not from a home that you saw mom and dad. Okay, but eventually you hear mom and dad talking to each other. You heard that the way they talk about each other. Right? This is all the training that you're getting. Understanding like how do two individuals interact with each other. This is years and years of programming.
That's right.
Taking my class for 2 weeks is not gonna just delete that. One of my best quotes that I've heard is people who take martial arts. People take martial arts, right? They'll say, that coach and teach martial arts, that they say it's easy to teach someone who knows nothing than to teach someone who's been doing something wrong for the last 10 years. Because it's hard to break that habit.
It's just a reflex now.
Right? It's hard. And you could have been doing years of mistakes and making wrong relationship advice, and you come to my class, I'll tell you everything you've been doing is wrong. Are you gonna just stop? You've been doing it for years.
That's just what I know. That's who I am now.
Right? So, yeah, I mean, I think if a person's, I typically get two kinds of people in my class. The ones that are mandated, who have to fulfill a role in order to see their kids or to keep their kids. And those who are willing, who want to change.
Wait up, there are people that get mandated to your course? How? Why?
Because they have a requirement from court to either prove their innocence in regards to child abuse or to either prove that they're qualified enough to be a parent.
To be a father.
Yeah.
I didn't even know courts did that.
Yeah.
When I started this idea of getting help to parents or fathers or just spreading the enlightenment towards men not realizing, a lot of us go through this shit, bro. It's not that she necessarily hates you. It's that y'all don't understand each other right now. I used to say like, yo, courts need to do like when they're doing child support, when you go to child support, y'all need to go to therapy first before y'all come here. Y'all need to go to therapy first.
That's an interesting idea.
And I need to hear back from the therapist on what both of y'all are willing to do for that child, for this relationship, or whatever. I don't know what the mandate should be, but if they're willing to send the father to fatherhood court, then why not send the parents to parenthood, to fatherhood class? Why not send the parents to parent class?
from the position of the courts, and my understanding of it all is that they're not concerned whether they're only worried about one thing, and the safety of this child.
Mm-hmm.
And I go back to my earlier statement: men are dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Men, all they know how to do is express anger.
Mm-hmm.
So when you walk into a courtroom, and judge is looking at you, seeing an angry black man or a brown man, she sees a dangerous person. So she needs to make sure that you are good in order to care for this child, to see this child, to be exposed to this child. 90%, maybe not 90, but a large percentage of the court cases that you see are usually ACS related.
Mm.
ACS related cases typically.
ACS means child welfare.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
ACS cases typically are alleged or accusations of child abuse. So you're going into a system in which already assumes that you're dangerous. You're going into a system that, in most likelihood, given the opportunity, will put you in jail. If they had the ability, right? Mm-hmm. Family court doesn't have that ability. Criminal does. But when you get an ACS case for criminal negligence or any kind of child abuse or neglect or just whatever, it doesn't have to be true. It can just be alleged. Mm-hmm. And the moment it's alleged, you are guilty.
Right.
Because it puts a label on you. Because you already have all these other stereotypes with you. And that each one confirms the other.
Well, I'm going to say something that's probably people are not going to like. And I understand. I'm telling you right now, I understand why you're not going to like it. But I'm just going to put it out there just to get perspective. I am angry now. I'm angry that this woman who used to look at me a certain way, who used to prop me up amongst all the other men in the world and thought I was the best thing smoking, is now telling me what to do. And she has y'all to tell me I have to do it. And now she doesn't even respect me anymore. She's telling me I only get an hour with this. When she used to suck my shit.
Yeah.
She used to cook for me and bring me the plate. Yeah. And she wouldn't even let me take the plate to the kitchen. Yeah. And now I'm dust to this woman. And she's talking to me crazy.
Right.
I'm angry. I feel tricked. I feel not respected. I definitely feel resentful. And you motherfuckers is telling me that I gotta deal with it. And I gotta pay for it. I'm angry. Sorry. I'm angry. I'm angry.
Yeah.
How do I deal with those feelings? When you say I gotta do it for this child, I feel I don't know if I want revenge, but I definitely don't want to succumb
resentment
to what she wants control. It feels like she wants control of me now. Like I'm the girl now. And I'm not your girl. I'm still the same man that you thought I was when you liked me. But now that you don't, and again, this isn't that I shouldn't be taking care of the kid. This isn't. Mm-hmm. It's the lengths that you're going through to prove that I'm not shit. Or like this, and this isn't about, when women take men to court. I'm not saying that you're just doing it because you're mad at me.
Right.
It's that you don't even respect me anymore.
Right.
How do I deal with this type of situation?
So
these feelings.
Most people, when I do the type of work and I do these spoken things that I do, most people get the impression that I'm putting the entire responsibilities on men. Mm-hmm. That men have to do all these things. All I ask is for the men to do their part. Mm. Right? Now, given a different interview, given a different question, what you then now talk about is mutual respect. Don't call him your baby father. Mm-hmm. That has a connotation of disrespect. Mm. Pretend like you're high class. Mm-hmm. I want you to put your child, the father of your child, in a pedestal. Treat them with respect. Treat them like they're a human being. Treat them like once upon a time you liked them because you did, because you went to bed with them, right? Just because he is no longer with you as a relationship does not mean that he is any less of a person. And it goes both ways. A toxic relationship is a toxic relationship. It doesn't matter if you're having sex or not having sex. Most people don't want to be in a toxic relationship. They just like, I can't be, I'm out, I'm gone. Like whether or not it's at work or anywhere else. Is the toxic relationship with a person in the corner leads to what? Violence, right? So if you are in a situation where it's toxic, adding a child to that isn't going to make it less toxic. Right? So we have to understand and we have to take responsibilities. Both in parties need to take responsibilities as to like, are you trying to start a family within a toxic relationship? Why don't you address the toxicity first in your relationship and then figure out like, is this the right thing to do? Right? But people jump that step. They go, oh, let's have a child because I look good, you look good. And I think that child is going to look super cute. And then you have this child and you haven't resolved the toxicity in that relationship. And it just blows up. You start disrespecting each other. You start doing, you start having situations like what you're saying, that a woman treating you not just like you are a wallet, but you start treating you like you just slave. Like
I'm the child.
Yeah, like you're beyond that. No, because she loves the child.
Yeah,
she don't love you. Right? She maybe wants your money to take care of the child, but she don't love you. What she loves is the child, right? So you beneath the child. And what we have to understand is kind of similar to like the whole airplane thing of like putting the mask on first before you put on a child. You have to take care of yourself, and you have to take care of that father in order to be able to take care of that child. If for whatever reason that father can no longer work, if that father can no longer be mentally capable of working or doing what he has to do, guess what? It's going to impact that child. See, the more you belittle him, the more you are negative towards him, the less he wants to be involved in that child's life. And the more negative impact that happens to that child. So women need to take responsibilities for their own actions, right? Is taking a guy to child support the best thing to do? No, it is not. In most cases, taking a father to child support is going to work against you.
Why is that?
Because the child support system is not created to help families.
Right.
It's not created it's to hold men accountable. It's a punishment. It is not a way of helping families. And I can go through a list of why, but I mean, we might be here all day.
No, I agree. I do agree with that. But this is why, pardon me for cutting you off, but this is why I'm like, is there a system in place to help families?
No.
And to me, that's like, our community is fucked up. I know my community is fucked up, right? Maybe not outside. I live in gentrified Brooklyn, but the black community, we need the fathers back. We need the two-parent households. That helps build strong children, which will help build strong communities. But if they're only doing things to hold the men responsible, to pull their power away, that's more of a detriment to the whole black community. Now, I would think it's the same thing in the Latino community, the Hispanic community. It's the same thing.
Same thing.
So why wouldn't the state, why wouldn't the system put things in place to help build these families?
Who's in power?
Right. I don't even know why I asked that question. Of course they
Who's in power?
Of course they don't want that.
They don't want that. Imagine overnight East New York, Brownsville, going from what it is now to upper class behavior and self-respect.
Right.
Where are they gonna put the shelters at? Where are they gonna put, the drug clinics? All the money that goes into that. Where is it gonna go? Go. Now, there's no motivation from the people in control to do all this stuff. Now, they might run on it as a campaign. They might say, "Oh, we're gonna dedicate $1 million. We're gonna do all this stuff." And for some people who do run for office, there's legitimate enthusiasm to do something about it. But that's not everyone.
Right.
And there's no coincidence why in the last 50, 60 years, since, maybe longer than that, why you have our Black and brown communities falling apart as they are.
Right.
And it comes back to what you said about the two parent household, that structure, those pillars that uphold the entire community, right? If you don't have men in your community who children could look up to and say, that's a man, they have no reference point as to what a man is by the time they become of age. And then they pretty much are in the blind looking for, like, how do I figure this out? Then that's both for men and women, because women are looking for mates. They're looking for husbands. They're looking for people to marry and to have kids with. They don't know what a man looks like. They fumbling around and they find the broken boys who are trying to figure out their way and say, do you want to have a family? And then this is the situation that we find ourselves in, where we have so many pregnancies, we have so many single parents, we have so many single families that are broken, that in my experience cannot be repaired. It's way too far. It's we're talking about Grand Canyon differences and level of respect. Like, there's no way you guys can ever sit down in the same room and have a conversation.
We have a comment here in the Discord. This episode was really about men not understanding women during pregnancy, men and women's deteriorating relationship after pregnancy, especially the year after. The word perinatal came up in this seminar. But we have a comment here in the chat which says, my baby daddy was extremely attentive during pregnancy and for about the first year after. Completely disengaged after that. What do you think that sounds like? How would you interpret that?
So if I'm reading this correctly, is a year after, that means that the child was about 2 years old before he, disengaged.
Maybe, right.
If I'm reading that correctly?
The child was after 1 year old, right?
So the fact that you don't know why he disengaged is part of the problem, right? That means you guys weren't talking. You weren't communicating what's going on. Now, is that your fault as the mom, or is that his fault as the father for not saying these things?
I would say both.
No, I don't like place blame. I'm not in your relationship. I don't know what's happening, right? But that's the first key. The first key is, have you guys been talking? Have you been given enough space to discuss and to allow for vulnerability? And I'll say this. A woman, and my wife is guilty of this too, I love her to death, but sometimes she'll say, oh, tell me what you feel. Be vulnerable. And the moment I am,
she blamed that shit on you.
She will write it. Okay. All right. And then spit it back to me a week later, talking about, oh, you know,
back in your face.
They throw it back in my face, almost like weaponizing it. Almost like, oh, you remember when you said, and it's just like, I thought I was being vulnerable. I was letting my guard down, and telling you how I feel, telling you that I'm not secure, I'm not this, I'm not that, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. And so now, if you're doing that in my relationship, next time you ask me to be vulnerable, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Because I don't want to be chastised to show you my weakness.
Right.
And women, and women in general need to understand too, the house is supposed to be the safe space, right? There's all this talk that you hear in social media and everywhere else about safe spaces. It don't exist outside of the house. Your house is the safe space. The house is where you're supposed to fart. You're supposed to do all your stuff and just like, I don't got, no one's gonna judge me.
Farting was crazy for this conversation, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, hey, that's what a safe space is. You don't do that at work, right? You kind of like, nah, let me not do it here, chill. Like someone. So, if the house is not a safe space for both individuals, then where is that man resting his head?
Well, she just said he cheated, and I could take accountability for my part in the deterioration of the relationship, but him stepping out was the nail in the coffin. So I guess the safe space that he found was somewhere else.
But look at that. She said there was a coffin. it takes more than one nail to close a coffin, right? So that means there was other situations that came up that you, one, two, you cheated, that's the last one. You can't wait till that last one. You start seeing signs that your relationship is starting to shake a little bit. You gotta nip it in the bud. You gotta pay attention to it right there. You gotta therapy, do whatever it is. Sit down, have a conversations, address the issue. And if both parties are not willing to address it, that's what those nails are. Is the relationship not working out? Is every relationship is supposed to last? Nah. That's a fairy tale. Every relationship is not supposed to last. Sometimes you have to just be a grown-up and say, you know what? We went in this thinking that it was going to last. It's not working out. We need to figure out how do we now move from being in a sexual relationship to now an amicable co-parenting relationship. Because now we have a life that we have to take care of. Right? And most people who are in relationships are not ready for that. Because it's too much feelings, it's too much emotional involvement. It's like, I still want you, I still love you. Like, why don't you love me? I'm hurting. And then part of that is not having the emotional maturity to have those conversations.
But bro, I'm triggered by her response. The reason I'm triggered by her response is he made it through the year after the pregnancy.
2 years, yeah.
If I'm putting myself in his shoes, for one, I didn't understand. Our relationship changed when you got pregnant. I stuck it out. Our relationship was still changing once you were going through postpartum. All of the things that the baby is doing to our relationship, because now we can't even have sex. We can't go out to eat as much. We can't do, everything is the baby. I'm still here. I'm feeling really disconnected from you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got weak and I went and did something else. Was I right for doing that? No. But bro, I was trying. Is this a story for a lot of men that they're like, yo, I was trying,
That's a story for
bro?
me.
It is a story for you.
Of course. Everyone who is in a committed relationship who all of a sudden has a child is going through this, is going through this.
Because we get this, oh, he cheated or he ain't shit thing, but it's like.
Yeah, there's more to the story than he just cheated. Now, is there a circumstance that.
Melly just groaned. Did you groan?
No, I just agreed to what he said.
Okay.
There's more to just cheat. People don't just cheat. Like
There's
that.
more to it, is what you're saying. Okay, we got a lady in the room. There's a lady in the room that agree with us.
Yeah, there's a subset of guys, though, who are just pigs.
Yes.
All right, there's a subset who are like, no matter what you give them or they're going to just do them. Let's just take that apart, right? We're not talking about them, right? They know hope. But the other guys who are in situations in which, they go from being your center of attention, your boo, to not have to take a back seat. And every inch of love that you used to give him, now you give to the child. And he sits there and just watching.
Yes.
And maybe the last time he went out with you was 3 months ago, 4 months ago. The last time, and I'm gonna get rated R a little bit. Last time he smelt you was, unless it was something you was doing in the bathroom, was.
Were you farting again? What are we talking about?
Whatever. Body odor. I'm talking about body odor.
Oh, and milk. I smell a lot of milk around here now.
You know what I mean? Like
you don't put perfume on no more.
Yeah, no, you don't put perfume no more. You don't barely do your hair. Like, it's like.
It's just milk and poop.
Now, is that enough reason to step out of the relationship? No, it's not.
No.
But a person can only take so much.
Yeah.
It starts, again, the nails in a coffin. You think you're the only one that has a coffin? Men do too.
Oh, shit.
For everything that we see that we're not liking, that's another nail in our coffin. And you're sitting there like, man, all right, I'm going to let them slide. It's just one nail. I'm going to let it slide. I'm going to let this, oh, she's talking crazy again. I'm going to let that slide. Or I'm paying all the bills, but she's still.
Taking care of the baby. That's what they're going to say. I'm still taking care of the baby. That's what they're going to say.
Well, it doesn't matter what they say, right? It's the antagonizing, it's the conflict, right? It doesn't matter what the truth is. The truth of the matter is that if you're having conflict and he's not liking it for one reason or the other, and you're not addressing it and problem solving it, Then eventually, what ends up happening is that those coffin starts filling
Those
with
nails
nails,
start flying,
and that final nail that you said that he cheated, that was his final nail too. He said, "I'm done with this. I'm gonna go find something else because I'm not getting what I need. I'm not getting my desire." Both individuals in a couple, and part of one of our co-parenting classes is that we have to put emphasis on the relationship. Kids are super important. But they're gonna be all right. As long as the parents are all right, as long as the parents are happy, they love each other, they having fun, the kids are gonna be all right. They're gonna be right along with you, and their, with their snot noses, right? It's okay to put the child aside, get a babysitter and take care of your man, take care of each other. It's okay. Don't just drop everything in your life and just take care of the child, because guess what? You have responsibilities toward that relationship.
So that means something's not being taken care of.
Yeah.
If it's all about this one thing.
And
I didn't know you did
versa.
co-parent courses.
Yeah.
What is that for? Like baby? Excuse me. Just for the. I'm just gonna use it. Is that baby mom and baby father courses so that you guys can work together? Or is this for more people in the house? Because I told my baby mom, I said, "Yo, we should go to some kind of therapy together."
So it exists. Co-parenting classes for disgruntled relationships exist.
Really?
Our version is not the disgruntled version. Our version assumes that you like each other. At some basic level, you like each other. Not romantically necessarily, but just you can sit in the same room with a person and be like, all right, I'm not going to stab you. Right? That's our version of it. There exist versions of it, and I have colleagues across the United States that teach this one, that is for we might stab each other if we stay in a room for too long, but we still got to be a co-parents, right? Those do exist. As far as how many programs in New York does it, probably none.
In New York?
Yeah.
Probably none.
Probably none. Because there's only about 3 or 4 parent programs, and I want to be very clear. When you're working with the system, and by the system I mean the people who pay the money to have organizations,
right,
do services,
right, to do services. When you work on a system and the system says we have family services, they're not talking about men. In New York City, at least from my observation, and I can only talk about New York City because I don't work in other states. I have colleagues in other states that we kind of share notes, but the word family does not include men when it comes to any kind of service. It only includes mom and dad. That's it. Interesting. So when you see family services, and I do this all the time. I'll meet up a new partner, our new organization. They'll be like, "Oh, we got family services. All right, cool." I'll start looking at their website, see what they got. Nothing about fathers. They don't even have pictures of fathers. They don't even have a single photo of representing a black or brown father. It's just like mom, child, maybe grandmother, mom, child. And you look at the list of all their services, it's all mom, child. And it's just like, how are we? So even from a systems point, they're not including us in this in the mix of family. So why should we consider ourselves part of the family? Bro, I never forget going to the doctor during the pregnancy. And I'm the kind of guy that asks questions. I want to feel included. Even though in the beginning of this, I really didn't feel like, this was what I wanted to do. I'm care. This is my girl. She's pregnant with twins. Right. I'm asking the doctor questions. They look at me kinda while I ask the questions, and then they answer the question to the mother.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so I kind of faded away into the corner of this room. Yeah. And this is continuous. Yeah. This is This isn't one thing. This is watch this. I'm telling her. And she's like, oh, God, you're so sensitive. And I'm like, yo.
I call it the cockroach look.
What do you mean?
It's like if you see a cockroach in the room, you kind of look at it like, what the?
Yeah.
What's this?
What the fuck is this?
And you start thinking about like, do I gotta clean this house up? Like, what's going on? And they look at you like like, what are you doing here?
Yes.
But I can't. But it's a cockroach. You can't look away from it. You gotta figure out, like, is there more than one?
Yeah.
Is it like
I'm the father. What do you mean? What I'm doing here?
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be here. There've been times I believe the first birth certificate came out and my name wasn't on it. Like, how do y'all? Why is it that everybody forgets, but then when it comes to the time when I leave, oh yeah, you have to do these things.
Yeah.
You were supposed to be here. Y'all never prepared me for this.
I want to go on a limb and say all men. Like, I'm very careful try to say definitive answers, right? Because there's always the 1% that's not true. But man, for every man I've ever talked to when it comes to this experience, every man has experiences within the hospital system. To go into a doctor's visit, whether it's prenatal, postnatal, and feeling like I'm not wanted here. Yeah. I'm not needed here. I'm not even like it's such a weird feeling that it's very universal, that I have yet to meet a father that says, yeah, I felt totally inclusive. Yeah. It felt completely awesome. Like, like they might be out there, but I haven't.
Is this something that needs to change though? I mean, because the woman is going through this a lot by herself. I mean, with her body and the changes. Obviously, he's a caretaker. Mm-hmm. But when you have
most cases, he's the bill. He pays the bills. Yeah. And that's what's crazy about this is that 90% of the time, well, maybe not 90, but I like 90 because it's a nice number.
Yeah, it's a nice round number.
Oh, a woman's health insurance is paid by the man through his job. So if he has health insurance, she's using the health insurance. Now it's family health insurance. Now it's coming out of his paycheck. He's paying the doctor's bills. And yet even that doesn't motivate them to turn around like, hey, thank you. How you doing? It's more like, what are you doing?
You stand outside, this is her time with the doctor, so this is a HIPAA violation.
Right? And at one point in my prenatal visits, I said that. I was like, I'm paying for this. What you mean? He goes, and then she turned around, she was like, I understand, but it's just that, and it went right back to
the mother.
Even the fact that I confronted the doctor and went right back to it.
Yo, this is something I feel like they feel like this is the method of operations. The father's gonna be annoying. Don't worry, I got you. I'm your support system because I know he's gonna be annoying. So don't worry about him. Focus on me. And I get that women need a certain amount of support. But who's supporting the dad? Who's supporting his feelings? And do we deserve that?
I'll elevate you one. Who's going to support her more than the father? No one. There is no one more capable and more able to support that mom than the father of that child. But he has to be allowed. He can protect her financially. He can protect her emotionally, right? Physically. He can be there when she's injured, when she's at home. He can observe her. He can change her gauze, right? He can do all these things. Can a doctor do all these things? No.
But then I'm going to have to ask you, this is going to be the final question. If the man, and we've both admitted to being disconnected, how can I provide the proper support? There's got to be some middle ground here. Because if I don't feel connection to you or what you're going through right now, right, and I'm still expecting us to be who we were before, and there's this thing here that I know it's mine in there, but I don't have a connection to it. You do, and you're basically going through it. Then how can I possibly give you the amount of support that I'm capable of doing if I understood the situation? Where's the middle ground?
I don't think I have an answer to that one because that's a profound question, right? And part of the work that we do, both in my organization and in my position, is that we're trying to find that middle ground. Yeah. Right. But it's gonna take an effort of the entire society to really reach that point. It can't come from me. It can't come from a random father that you see. it has to be agreed upon that the entire community says, you know what, this is the middle ground. This is how we're gonna settle these things. And, you know, whether or not is, you know, whether it's therapy, whether it's whatever class, it doesn't matter what it is, what you substitute, what do you call it. But we all have to agree upon it, because if we don't agree upon it, that means that I might do it in my relationship, but you won't do it. And then the next person won't do it. And then that young couple won't do it. And then we're right back where we started.
Right.
So it has to be a collective understanding that we are all, one, I'm not going to use the word baby daddy.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to use something more respectful, right? Because again, no one uses that in high class. So why are we using it to ourselves?
All right. I hear you.
So
I hear
you know, that's
I definitely use it as a shot towards my children's mothers, but it's I don't know.
You got to start with yourself.
I'm definitely going to change that. I'm definitely going to, because I called them baby mother 1 and baby mother 2, and I didn't even realize that what I was doing with that assertion. I had no idea. But you're right. By saying that, it is like a low gut punch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it continues the negativity that you have within that relationship. You're keeping the wound alive. You're keeping it festering by baby mother. You're keeping it alive, and you have to ask yourself introspectively, and this is for anyone listening too, like, why are you keeping that wound open? Mm-hmm. Is it because you still want a connection? Is it because some part of you still looms from that for that connection with that person that you had, whether it's love, lust, whatever you want to call it? So you keep that wound open because it's a reminder of that connection you had with them. So in other words, you have not healed. And you have to look at yourself and say, do I want to heal? Do I want to move past this? Or do I want to continue to be in pain? No one can answer that question but yourself. And that's a question that most men are not willing to answer. They're not willing to look at themselves in the mirror and say, and have that serious conversations with themselves and say, I want to deal with these problems that I have. And this is why we find ourselves in these situations.
First of all, I'm going to just say you slammed that. You slammed that. Playoff time, you went right in and you dunked both hands. Windmill. If you had anything that you wanted to say to the men out there that are going through a pregnancy right now, or in the after year, 2 years, 5 years, still have not recovered, still don't know what to do. If there was a message from you, Emmanuel, a fatherhood counselor, what would it be?
Do it for the child. Don't do it for you. Don't do it for her. Do it for the child. No one's out here. No one knows what they're doing. No parent has a perfect plan. If you made the decision to have a child, then by all means, do the job. Do the job the best you can. No one's going to ask for any more. Not the child, not anyone else. And if anyone does expect that from you, then just, again, do the best you can. But take care of yourself first. If you're not taking care of yourself, it don't matter how good you are as a father, because eventually you're going to die. And either it's going to be from blood pressure, heart attacks, diabetes, or whatever it is. Something's going to kill you because you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
So take care of yourself, do for the child, and do the best you can. And for the mothers out there, I say the same thing. But you got to as a community, we got to take care of each other, because if we don't take care of each other, no one's going to. Look around. No one's going to take care of us.
Thank you, Emmanuel Perez. Where can these people find you? Where can people reach out to you for support?
Well, I don't have no social medias right now, but right now we have an office over at Bed-Stuy, over at thru. We are located within the Department of Health building. You can catch us on the Eventbrite if you want information for our classes.
Right, you do a class Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Mondays, Saturdays. Because it's the co-parenting and the fatherhood class. So depending on what you want to sign up for. But we have other stuff there too. We have a lot of postpartum depression classes for moms. We have a lot of healing classes, a lot of education classes for childbirth, all free of charge.
So where would they find this? How would they find this?
Eventbrite. Just go Eventbrite, look for Healthy Start Brooklyn.
Healthy Start Brooklyn.
Right? Or they look for DOHMH. Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. Yeah,
mental hygiene.
Yeah,
Department of Mental Hygiene.
Yeah, look for that on the Eventbrite, and you'll either find one or the other. And we have both accounts. We have all that stuff. Look for the classes that you got, and just sign up. And again, I hate to say this, but Google.
Yeah.
I mean, you Google enough, and you'll find fatherhood programs. You'll find some of that stuff, and Carl, I know you have a larger audience. There's a Healthy Start program in every borough in New York City, and there's also at least one or two in every city across the United States.
Okay.
So you're not alone.
Right.
There's people out here trying to do this work, trying to help you guys.
I don't think a lot of people know that stuff is there though.
No, they don't. And part of this is because there's no money in the budget to do advertisements. Right. We barely get enough just to do the work itself. And unfortunately, we have to rely on individuals like yourself and others, community leaders, to bring that word out as to the work that we do and try to support the communities that we have. But we're out here doing the work we can, trying to support the much as we can, and we're doing the best we can.
Well, we're going to try to amplify this, light a fire under it, and see if we can get some more help and support to mothers and fathers with this situation. Now, tomorrow, we actually have a doula, Amina Ross, I believe her name is, coming over, and she will talk to us about the support she gives mothers, why we need more of that in the Black and Latin community, and the way it benefits not only the mother, but how it also benefits the fathers, the mothers having that support. So tune back in here tomorrow at So Shameless, or go to patreon.com right now /So Shameless Podcast. So it's patreon.com/So Shameless Podcast, and you can hear the entire episode. We got some of this all week, all about parenting, pregnancy, and the effect it has on your relationship. So Shameless.